How's it going, YouTube? We're bringing you guys another Digimon match. Today, we have myself on the left playing the Purple Rush list that I posted recently on the channel and have showed on the channel before, against another meta deck that some of you may see if you decide to pick up this deck in Yellow Hybrid, the Yellow-Purple Hybrid with the Purple Egg base and stuff like Purple Kari. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the match. So here my opponent wins the dice roll, so they have to go first. Deciding to go ahead, drop down the Zoe. Looks like they do end up not taking anything off the search, which is really unfortunate for them, not being able to have a memory setter or a get something off of the Zoe search at the start of the game is pretty rough. And here we go ahead, we hatch, we do end up having BT2 Gabumon, which is always the best rookie to go into. And then unfortunately we don't have a good play, we don't have like the best follow-up, but this deck is explosive enough that even if it's not the best, sometimes we can make it work. So we go ahead, hard play the Cerberusmon, and pass turn back over to 3. Our opponent does have the Bokomon though, so they're able to go into search off the Zephyr and the TK Kari, so now they have multiple Tamers to possibly go into on the follow-up turns if they decide to go ahead and drop down that TK Kari. So here we know my opponent already has the Zephyrmon from the Bokomon search, so they're more than likely going to go ahead Digivolve to Zephyrmon. It doesn't hurt anything, gives you a bigger security, also gives you a little bit of extra cycle because, like I said, with Bokomon it is free, and then it gives you access to your level 5 if you have one here. Unfortunately, they're not able to choke me at 1 with something like a Jet Sylvie, but they do end up going into the Rise being able to play a Tamer for free. So here we go ahead, drop down the Werewolf mode to pop the Cerberusmon, keeping us at the same memory, giving us a little bit more cycle with the Cerberusmon, and then playing down the Analog Youth, trying to decide what we want to take here. Is it good to take the Nidhogg for the extra memory? Is it good to take the Eismon just so we make sure we have it in hand? Decide to go ahead and take the Eismon. I don't really have any other discard outlet other than the Gabumon on field, so I decided that the Eismon's probably safe to take just in case maybe I could have drawn into a scatter mode, which I still haven't seen, I don't believe, at this point. But here we go ahead, swing in with the Werewolf mode. Kind of afraid it's, kind of expecting it to die. He does get extra 6k from Zoe and the Zephyrmon Evo. Fortunately for us, and unfortunately, we do hit the TK. TK grabs him a Dynasmon. So now, no matter what I do, they're going to go to 5 security or 5 memory because of the fact that TK is on their field as memory setter and TK Kari are there. So here we just go ahead, use the Death Claw, pop the Boko, and then swing in with the Gabumon just to get a little bit more cycle. It's more than likely going to die just because 1, security is huge, and since they didn't grab anything off of Zoe, there's a good chance that there's a lot of other big things in security or Tamers that they weren't able to grab. So here I go ahead and discard the Cerberusmon Werewolf mode. This is really just in preparation for the potential Dead or Alive that I could draw into, because it's always a good follow-up play. And then here you see me try to activate Calling, catching myself, realizing I don't have a purple source on board. I am at 0 memory from the Calling from the Death Claw that I played earlier, and then here I don't really have anything else to go into better, so we just go ahead, hard drop the Gabumon, just to kind of have a body on field. It's better to have a little bit of something on field. They're already going to go to 5 anyway, so it doesn't really matter as long as we don't pass them over their 3. So here our opponent does go ahead, go into the Dynasmon that we saw them recover off of the TK. Unfortunately for them, do trash the Holy Wave. Now you are going to have this little situation here where my opponent does go ahead, Digivolve the Gazi, and then draws, catches himself, realizes that he doesn't have the Dynasmon. He didn't recover off the Dynasmon effect. So here the Dynasmon just goes ahead and we recover the Dynasmon first and then draw off of the Gazi. A little bit of mix up there because of got a little too ahead of himself, but we go ahead and fix it before anything too crazy gets out of hand. But back into the turn, our opponent is at 1 memory after the Dynasmon. They don't really have the Bokomon on the field anymore, so if they do want to go into a hybrid on top of something, they don't really want to do that, but they do have the Zoe, so they are able to go ahead, lay down the Zoe, have an extra Tamer on board. This does make their Rise Greymon live, so now Rise Greymon can potentially check for 2 security, and it gives them a good target for their follow-up turns instead of having to go on top of their TK or their TK Kari for an Evo target. So here my opponent does kind of put me into a rough situation. With Dynasmon on the field, I effectively have 1 extra check that I have to go through, and I only have the Gabumon and the Analog Youth on the field. This Dynasmon also can check 3 security, or 2 checks I should say, now that they have 3 Tamers. One of the Tamers being a TK Kari also means that they're definitely going to go ahead and go up to 5 memory. So I feel like why not just go ahead, swing, and get a little bit more cycle off with the Gabumon, kind of biting me for discarding that Gabumon a little earlier on in the game. And and they do go ahead and get the recovery. But here I'm trying to go back and forth. I'm thinking what I'm going to do. I really need to try to get a little bit more momentum going on. So we go ahead and jack raid. It is only for 1, but this does give us access to calling for 1. You don't have to have a target to delete on the field for calling. And we go ahead, Digivolve the Gabumon, and then prep up for the following turn into the Eismon. So kind of seeing why I discarded the extra Eismon in our scatter mode from the discard off of the Gabumon attack, the starter deck Gabumon. And then now we just basically hope that our opponent can't just straight up take us out. So they go ahead, swing 2 checks, live both checks. More than likely you're going to live in this deck. Not a whole lot of stuff in security is huge. And then the Gazimon swings in, does hit an Analog Youth. And then here, go ahead. You can clearly see they're pushing for game. They swing in with the Zephyrmon. It does die to the promote. And then here, if they have another hybrid, we know they have a Kazemon, so they go ahead, Digivolve into the Kazemon, swing in, hit a Dead or Alive. This will let me play out. I don't think I have a regular Cerberus and Trash. I grabbed it back, but it does let me put out the Werewolf mode, so I have an extra body on field. They doesn't look like they have any way to gain the memory up, so they can't really go for game this turn if they have an extra level 4 hybrid, but they are able to get a little bit more security and then just pass me to as little memory as possible with the Holy Flame, making sure that this Cerberusmon can't really do any security checks. So really at this point, I have 0 security. My opponent has 5 effective security with the Dynasmon. I really just need to go for broke on winning this turn. If you've seen what this deck can do, sometimes it just goes crazy and we go ahead and we have to make crazy pushes to really pop off in one turn. So here we go ahead, start off the turn, swing it with the Cerberus mode, get rid of the Jet Sylvie just in case something happens and I can maybe choke them down to a little bit less memory, that I can avoid being killed by a hybrid just for game. And then we swing in with the Eismon. He does not have jamming today, so we go ahead and it does in fact die to a Zephyrmon. That Zephyrmon is very big from the Zoes, but here we don't really have the best discard targets. The best thing we have is just one single Eismon, but we do play it out. We do use Deathclaw to pop the Gazimon. By popping our Cerberusmon, he's not really going to do anything else at this point. And then here, I'm just trying to count my trash, see how many cards I have in trash. I do have 20, so we're able to jack raid up, go to 3, play out, Digivolve the Cerberusmon, play out the Dead or Alive, effectively gaining a memory, suspending both Analog Boys, gaining another 2 memory, getting a little bit more cycle with the Werewolf mode on play effect, trashing there a Analog Youth. We don't really need another one. I can't really afford to use the Analog Youth to lose a little bit more memory. Here, just Digivolving in the back, go ahead, jack raid. I believe at this point I do recount just to make sure. I believe it's still only 2, but this puts us up to 5 memory. So here, you're going to see a little bit of a misplay that I do here. I end up swinging in with this Werewolf mode. I don't really want to, because if it does hit something in security, then I am potentially dead, but I really do need the extra check. So we go ahead, we swing in with the Werewolf mode here. We check this Zephyrmon. Now, the issue here, or this Kazemon, the issue here with the Kazemon is they only have the Zoe on field. Only having the Zoe on field was the only thing that we remembered. Unfortunately for me, and my opponent, I should say, we do in fact have the lingering effect from the Kazemon Digivolving on top of the Zoe at the end of their, or in the middle of their last turn, so that Werewolf mode should have technically died. Now, since it did not die, we do go ahead, Digivolve into the Mastemon. This does trash the top security of our opponent. It is a Schwartz, which is always good. We play out the promote. We do have the full stack, so we're able to gain a little bit of extra memory. We swing in, we do a little bit of cycle, gaining a little bit more memory from the Kinkakumon effect and Ginkakumon effect in tandem, and then we play out, I believe, I know there's a glare there, but I'm pretty sure that is an Eismon that we trash off of the Ginkakumon or Kinkakumon effect. And then here I'm trying to go back and forth. I really do have to try to make a push for game. So we go ahead and thinking about what we're going to do, we just need to go ahead, play out the Digivolve into the Cerberusmon, I should say. And then I know it's really far off screen, but I was running out of board space because I was going a little wide. We just go ahead, drop a Cerberusmon to Werewolf mode to delete the Cerberusmon, keeping our memory about the same, drawing 2, discarding 2. And then here, kind of, again, counting my trash, I believe I do have another jack raid in hand. I'm hoping that it puts me up to 3 or at least 2. I can't remember at this point if I have a win rate, but it does put me at 3. Here, I'm trying to go back and forth on if I should swing with this or not. I really do need it because I guarantee game. If you saw earlier, I have that Anubismon in hand, but if I Digivolve on top of this Werewolf mode, then I am just out of it, because then I won't be able to really... I won't be able to go into the Anubismon and then swing continue with the rookie. And then here we just Digivolve into the Anubismon, discarding. I don't really know why I discard the Eismon right there. I discard it off of the win rate. Sorry about that. And then here we bring out the Gabumon and go ahead and swing for game. So that pretty much takes it game 1. It is unfortunate that we forgot about the lingering effect of the Kazemon. That could have really did have a chance to affect the outcome. But sometimes when you do long turns like that and long combos, especially with some lingering effects, they do get missed. So I do have to apologize for that. So here my opponent does in fact whiff on the rookie at the start of the game. Isn't too uncommon, but they do have a pretty solid start in the TK, grabbing the reinforced memory boost as the one of. It's probably good to just go ahead and have here, and I just go ahead and in the back digivolve into the scatter mode and just hard play the Gazi. I saw the reinforced memory boost. He's going to go to 3. I don't really have anything that keeps him any less, so I feel like Gazimon's just a decent, just hard play to put my opponent as little memory as I possibly could. Here they follow it up with a TK Kari, choking me to 1, which isn't too unexpected. And then they go ahead and I swing in with the Eismon. In fact, though Eismon does have jamming today, we hit the Kari out of security. Kari is not able to respond with its effect because it was not on the field when the security check was made, so you can't suspend the Kari to gain the memory. And then here, since I haven't seen the reinforce come down and I just kind of really want a little bit more cycle, I don't have anything like an analog youth that I can put into play, I go ahead just digivolve the Gazi into a Ginkakumon. Like I said, a little bit more cycle just to dig a little bit deeper in the deck. At this point, my opponent is at 5 memory. I did have to lower their security, so they do have less security than I do, so they are able to go ahead and gain the extra memory off of the TK Kari. So here, with the plethora of memory they have, they go ahead, Digiball, or hard play down the Zoe. Looking through the security, they do grab the Zephyrmon. So here, kind of think about what they want to do. They don't really want to swing over the Eismon if they can afford it, and but it's not really something you want to have on field, but you also don't want to give me too much memory with a Schwarz if they do have one in hand. So here, they think about Digivolving the Zoe, but then remember that they just played the Zoe, and they don't really want to Digivolve on top of any of their other tamers, so they just go ahead, hard play another TK Kari, passing me over to 2 memory. So here, I wish I kind of had an Analog Boy, because Analog Boy really does just fully facilitate this if I do have an Eismon in hand. I can't fully remember what I had in hand at this point, but we go ahead, we Digivolve the Ginkakumon into a Promote. This way that Ginkakumon's effect is live for when I gain a memory off of discarding off an effect. So I go ahead, Digivolve in, or swing in the Eismon. It does in fact die to a Kazemon, which is very fortunate for us. We go ahead, we have pretty good discards. We have 2 Eismon in hand. We also have a Nidhogg for one of the other discard effects, and then we prep the graveyard with a Cerberus mode, so we're able to go ahead and have that prepped for future Dead or Alive plays and flood the board with several Eismon, although they could easily retaliate with something like a Schwarz. I do decide to just go ahead and go a little hard here. So here at this point, we go ahead swinging with the Promote. We're not super worried about the Promote dying because it's already activated the effect of the Ginkakumon in the sources, which fortunately for us, it does in fact live. We do hit a Zoe out of security, they don't take anything, and they suspend the Kari, passing us over to 2 memory. Pretty much what I was expecting them to do. I do have the Analog Boy, so I can make the best use out of my memory. Go ahead, take an Eismon there, I believe, off of the effect, trashing the rest. And then here, they're already going to go to 7. I decide if they do wipe the board with something like a Schwarz, which is pretty free at this point. They have plenty of tamers, they do have the purple source, and I do have a nice board that is Schwarzable. I'll go ahead and prep the following turn with a scatter mode in Raising. So here my opponent will go ahead Digivolving their Zoe into a Zephyrmon, into a Jet Sylphimon. Pretty standard yellow hybrid play, always good. Easy 3 memory to go ahead, have a body on field, buff their security at the same time, and Digivolve into the Jet Sylphimon for the recovery. So here my opponent's kind of thinking about what they want to do. Like I said earlier, I am pretty much expecting a Schwarz. They do know that this deck can hurry up an OTK out of nowhere after seeing it in the previous turn, so they do decide to go ahead, Digivolve into the Dynasmon, getting a little bit of search, trashing the top card of their security. It's not really going to affect anything. They're going to recover it up anyway, taking a Bokomon and a Kazemon, and then just going to go ahead and Schwarz. They don't really want to, but they're dead anyway if they don't Schwarz, so it really is, unfortunately for them, their only play. So, depending on how my hand is, and if you saw game 1, even though there was that little bit of a misplay with the forgetting the Zoe effect, we go ahead, we swing in with the scatter mode, we discard off of the Gabumon effect, trashing the Nidhogg to gain a memory, and then the scatter mode does in fact die because the Jet Sylphie comes out of security, and they do get the recover. Here we just go ahead, start throwing out the Eismon. We did get an Eismon from one of the previous analog search, so our opponent know that that was pretty much coming out, and then we just go ahead and discard nothing. We don't really have anything else to discard, but at this point, as long as I have a Cerberus and a Dead or Alive in hand, I'm pretty much good to go, which is in fact what we do. We digivolve into the Cerberus, going to 4, playing the Dead or Alive, effectively gaining a memory after the Dead or Alive finishes resolving. This is where I guess he didn't really notice it in game 1, but we just go over the effect of Dead or Alive and how it brings back a level 5, deleting the Cerberus Mon. I do gain 9 memory off of it, so Dead or Alive being at 8 minus 1, we still have 1 memory left over, so we are able to effectively gain a memory. And then here, I'm not sure, do I forget to activate the Analog Youth? But I think I'm just thinking about what I want to discard off of the Cerberus Mon. Discard, so we're looking what's in trash, seeing what's in hand. Trying to go back and forth on it here, as in fact where I do remember the Analog Youth, go ahead, go up to 6 and gain the and hatch the egg, and then we just go ahead, discard an eyes or a Deathclaw. So here we digivolve the Gabumon just to get a little bit more cycle. There's a good chance it might not hit the field if we can finish our opponent off this turn. Even if we're not able to finish our opponent off this turn, if they will go up to a pretty decent amount of memory, but they don't quite, since we do have a full 5 memory at this point, it might be a little hard to pull off, especially since that Dynasmon, unlike last game, isn't checking to security. So here we go ahead, digivolve into the Mastemon, shredding the top card. They won't get the recover off of the Dynasmon effect because we did get that with the Eismon check previously. So here you see me play down the Jackraid, but before I play down the Jackraid, because it can matter, I do need to go ahead and resolve the effect of Mastemon to play out a level 4 or lower purple or yellow Digimon. So we go ahead, play out the Eismon. I don't really think it matters what Digimon it is at this point because I'm probably just wanting to delete it, which is exactly what I do here. I go ahead and use the calling to delete the Eismon, grabbing back a Eismon, and then trying to think about what I want to do. You're going to see me make a little bit of a misplay following up. It is just good to go ahead and get the Cerberusmon because I do have the Jackraid. And then we'll go ahead and draw a bunch of cards. I discard the calling. Now, here, if I would have kept the calling, there's probably more continuous plays I could have done. I probably wouldn't have to end my turn as soon as I do, but you live and you learn. Again, it's one of those decks where you really do have to think about what you have going on. Here we do double Jackraid. We are still only at 20-ish cards in trash, so we aren't able to go full ham and gain the extra memory off of the 30, but we do have enough to, after the Eismon, into the Cerberusmon, playing the Dead or Alive, effectively gaining another memory, bringing out another Cerberus mode. I could have also swung with the Cerberus mode earlier, but I was afraid, since the Zephyrmon effect and the Eismon effect is there, that it would die and I would lose the Mastemon play. So, you know, another thing, you have to kind of weigh your options sometimes when you swing in and want to digivolve with the Cerberusmon. So here with its newly played Cerberusmon, I'm just trying to think about what I want to do. Do I want to go ahead, swing in? If I do hit anything bigger than 2k, then I do effectively lose this Cerberusmon. It does lose me a little bit of tempo because then I'm not able to possibly continue my plays, maybe digivolve this Cerberusmon into something. But I do think it's the best thing to go ahead and do effect swing in, hitting a Bokomon, pretty much one of the only cards in the deck other than maybe a Gazi that I could have lived against. And this kind of did make me think it was really unfortunate that we didn't swing in with the Cerberusmon that's underneath the Mastemon, because that means it would have been able to live, and then we would have still been able to continue our plays as we've been playing them out with the Mastemon on field, getting that little bit of extra check. But sometimes you really do have to weigh your options to see if it's really worth it. But here, since it does live, we go ahead, use a win rate, trashing the Ginkakumon to digivolve our swung Cerberusmon into a Anubismon, and this lets us go ahead, play out a rookie. At this point, it really doesn't matter which rookie it is. We don't have anything crazy with any on deletion effects other than in the inheritables or anything like that, so we just go play out the Gabumon. I decided it's better late than never to go ahead and play out the Jackraid. If we don't win this turn, then we pretty much set up a point that our opponent really can't deal with it. If they'd have to try to deal with both the Anubismon, the Mastemon, our rookie and raising, anything else that we might be able to play. So we go ahead, swinging with the Gabumon. It does in fact die. This is where it would have been a little bit more beneficial if we would have had something like the calling, because then if it lived or something like that, then we could have callinged. But here we go ahead, play a second Analog Youth. We only have 1 card left in deck at this point. So here I go ahead, and I'm a little bit suspect on what I want to do. I do take the scatter mode. It doesn't really matter, again, what I take at this point. Our opponent's going to go ahead and go up to 7 anyway with the 2 TK Karis, and I'm just trying to think about, is there anything on the field that would potentially let me draw if my opponent cleared my board out? And nothing out of security would even do that in this deck. I don't think I have anything else that would do it. So I just don't want to deck myself out since we are only at 1 card. And here, I don't really have anything that puts them at less than 3 memory, so they're going to go to max. So we just go ahead and play Deathclaw. Deathclaw's effect is a May, so we just don't use a target for Deathclaw, and then just pass our opponent over to their memory. So here my opponent decides to get a little aggressive. Instead of swinging over the Anubismon, they swing in with the Dynasmon for a check. I guess they're trying to push for game this turn if they can pull it off. So they swing in with the Zephyrmon that they Digivolve into as well, living the check, Digivolving into a Kazemon, swinging in, and unfortunately for them, hitting a Jackray. This pretty much stops their turn dead in its tracks because no matter what they do, they're not really going to be able to push for turn. So here I'm kind of expecting something like a Jet Sylphimon, maybe a double Jet Sylphimon to leave me as little memory as possible. But from the looks of it, it doesn't look like they have it. So they go ahead, play Reinforce, revealing a Zephyr and a Shine. At this point, it doesn't really matter what they have, just as long as they get the extra security, hoping that Dynasmon recovers something pretty good. So here we go ahead, raise up the Gabumon, swing in. We know it's going to die, but this lets us trigger off the discard effect of Demimeramon, discarding an Eismon, bringing it back out of trash using the Anubismon effect. It does, in fact, give it Rush. We swing in with that, and then we just go ahead, swing in with Anubismon, and take game 2, clutching us in the match. So guys, I know it's a little bit of a longer one, but as you know with this purple deck, kind of like Lilith Loop, even though it's a little bit more aggressive than Lilith Loop, it does have long turns that do take quite a bit of time to play through. And then we're also playing against yellow, so there is a little bit of extra grind fest that we have to get to when they have stuff like Dynasmon. So sorry about that, but at the same time, it really does show off how both of the decks function, and it was a pretty good match. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like on it. Subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying the content. We will have more gameplay videos, more deck profiles, and some more ruling videos coming at you in the near future. But with all that being said, thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.